Good morning, dear ones. In this video, we can just make a glance at the essay question of 2019 Kannur University question paper 4. First semester B.Ed examination of contemporary Indian education. Question number 22. Explain briefly the history of education in ancient and medieval India. Vedic period and Buddhist period are known as the ancient periods in India, while the period when the Muslim kings, especially the Mughal kings, ruled India is known as the medieval period. There were systematic educational systems during the ancient period and the medieval period in India. These three educational systems got similarities in a variety of aspects of education because all these educational systems were based on religious concepts. Though you can see a few differences, these similarities are the major elements of these three different educational systems. The Vedic age is considered as the age from 1700 BC to 600 BC or 500 BC. It is divided into two different ages, early Vedic period and later Vedic period. The Buddhist period is considered as from 500 BC or 600 BC, that is after the birth of Siddhartha Gautama. And it remained till 1000 AD. The age was put into an end by the military invasion of Bakhtiyar Khilji in 1000 AD. The medieval period starts from that period and it ends with the arrival of Britishers. First, we can look at the educational activities of Vedic period. It is a fact that during the Vedic period, education has got great importance. Veda is a word which was derived from the word Sanskrit word with. With means knowledge. Then Vedic age means age of knowledge. As we told earlier, Vedic age can be divided into two, early Vedic age and later Vedic age. Early Vedic age is considered the age between 1700 BC and 1000 BC. And it's told that during the early Vedic period, there was no social stratification or caste system. The later Vedic period is also known as epic period because two epics called Mahabharata and Ramayana were written during this period. It's also called as Brahmanic period because Brahmins got prominence during this period because there was social stratification. And whenever we are talking about Vedic education, we are actually talking about Brahmanic education or education during the Brahmanic period. The most important aim of education during the Brahmanic period or Vedic period was to make the individuals capable of reaching moksha at the end of their life. And for this, they had to practice dharma in all the walks of life. So, another aim of education was to teach the people dharma and to make them capable of practicing dharma even when they are earning some artha, that is material wealth, and fulfilling their material pleasure, that is kama. Education also was aiming at making the people prepare for their family life, that is grihastha. So it can be considered as the vocational aim of education during the Vedic period. Knowledge attainment aim was another most important aim during the Vedic period. Education aimed at making the people or students great scholars. And also, most important aims of education during the Vedic period was character development. It is different from personality development. Character includes inside and outside. Personality is the peripheral or the external behavioral patterns. All the ancient educational or traditional educational systems give more importance to character, not to personality. There was an initial ceremony for starting education during the Vedic period. It was called Upanayana ceremony. It was held for Brahmins at the age of 8, for Kshatriyas at the age of 11, and for Vaishyas at the age of 12. As there was social stratification or caste system, Shudras were not given any sort of education during the Vedic period. During the Upanayana ceremony, the student will take bath, wear saffron cloths, come to the teacher, the Gurukula, sit before the teacher and would recite Saraswati mantra when the teacher, after the teacher recites it. The system of education during the Vedic period was Gurukula system. Students were residing at the home of the Guru or teacher, and Guru and the wife of Guru or the teacher were considered as their second mother and father. Students had to serve the teacher and the wife of the teacher in all their day-to-day life activities. Students had to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they would go for fetching water for the wife of the teacher for preparing food. They had to clean the room of the teacher, the surroundings of the home of the teacher, and they had to fetch firewoods for the wife of the teacher. They would go outside and beg alms for meeting the livelihoods for themselves and the teacher and the wife of the teacher. The curriculum during the Vedic period was different. Some religious scripts, activities, and duties were taught to Brahmins. war-related activities, administration, and management skills were taught to Kshatriyas. Trade, craftsmanship, farming, and such items were included in the curriculum for Vaishyas. The teaching methods were completely oral. The most important method used during the Vedic period was Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Now, the teacher has got some prominence during the Vedic period. Teacher was considered just below God, the Almighty, during those times. Sanskrit was the medium of instruction, so that the common people were not given education because Pali was the language of the common people during those times. During the Buddhist period, the most important aim of education was making the people able to reach nirvana. That is, to become away from all the worldly bondages and desires. And another important aim of education during the Buddhist period was to teach the individuals four noble truths of Buddhism, such as life is full of miseries. Desire is the root cause for miseries. Still, we can overcome miseries. And the fourth one is we have to follow eightfold paths to overcome the miseries. Another important aims of education. Another important aim of education during the Buddhist period was to teach them eightfold paths to overcome miseries. Character development also was an important aim of education, and vocational aim also was there. During the Buddhist period also, there was some initial ceremony for starting education, and it was called Papcha. And as there was no social stratification, it is told that all the people got education. So children from different communities would come to the Sangha Viharas when they become 8 years old and sit before the teachers and just take this oath: Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Sangha, and I take refuge in Dharma, and I take refuge in Sangha. Unlike the Gurukula system of Vedic age, Buddhist educational system was a sort of multi-teacher, multi-student system. All the teachers and students were residing at Sangha Viharas, and education was being provided there. There was another ceremony called Upasampada. After completing the education, this ceremony was held. The curriculum of education during the Buddhist period were related to Buddhist philosophy such as Four Noble Truths, then Eightfold Paths, and so on and so. Writing, it is told that writing was introduced during the Buddhist period. Reading, writing, and arithmetic were there. The methods were oral methods, just as was there during the Vedic period. Then Pali was the medium of instruction during the Buddhist period, because it was the language of the common people. Now let's come to Islamic period. Actually, it is called Islamic education. The education given during this period is called Islamic education. It's not because they were giving education on Islamic principles, but just because most of the kings who were ruling the country during those times were Muslims. But they had got two different types of aims for education. The first type is the general aims of Islamic education. The general aims of Islamic education or education in Muslim community are to make the people able to prepare for life hereafter, to teach them Quranic verses, holy hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the religious law. In India, they had got some other aims too. They had to rule India. Though they had become completely modern, you can see some modern science in their modern science, not science, modern science in their administration. So they were giving secular education as well. And some other aims of education during Islamic period were providing communication skill to people, character development, then making the people able to participate in wars and etc. The educational system, there was also some initial ceremony for starting education called Bismillah. The meaning of the word, Arabic word Bismillah, is in the name of Allah, the Almighty. So Bismillah means I start in the name of God, the Almighty. Bismillah ceremony occurred when the child became 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days old. When that particular age appears in the life of a child, he would go to the ustad, that is the teacher, and sit before him and recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I start in the name of the God, the most munificent and merciful. When the teacher recited so. The educational system during the medieval period was in two forms, maktabs and madrasas. Maktabs were primary educational institutions, while madrasas were higher educational institutions. In maktabs, Muslims were taught as the part of religious education, recitation of Quran and recitation of the daily prayers. As a part of the material education, in maktabs, they were taught reading, writing, and basic arithmetic. In madrasas, as a part of religious education, they were taught explanation of Quranic verses, which is known as tafsir, then explanation of holy hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Islamic laws and regulations called Sharia. As a part of secular education, in madrasas, they were being taught logic, communication, administration, and such items. The medium of instruction during the period were Arabic, Urdu, and Sanskrit. The methods were oral methods and some other methods such as discussion, debate, and lecture, discussion, debate, and such methods also were being used. And discussion debate, the methods such as discussion and debate were had been there during the Vedic period and Buddhist period. So this is something about. And see, during all the ancient periods and medieval periods, there were no education for women, just like women folk is having education nowadays. Actually, we will tell that women were given education during the Vedic period, Buddhist period and Islamic period. But only some women were given education, that too at their home. The education which women folk are given nowadays was not there during any period, during any ancient or medieval period. The present type of education given to women folk started only after the emergence of Britishers. So this is something about this essay. So you have to control writing the essay on the basis of your time. I have given all the points here. If these are, if this is a bit long essay, then you have to avoid some unimportant points from this essay. Thank you.